Ten Hag's been told there is no money to spend, Tom. The money's all gone. It's been spent on Christmas gifts. Fred the Red's gone shopping. He's bought presents for the little Fred Reds. There is simply no money left. The Glazers have gone shopping. They've been shopping in Louis Vuitton in New York. They were in Qatar flying business class on Manchester United's account. But not to worry, there is no money to spend. Gakpo, key target for the Manchester United. He's now off to Anfield. It's all unraveling. But it's all right because, like I said, Manchester United do not have money to spend. As you can tell, I'm being extremely sarcastic. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, very well, mate. Very well. Ten Hag wasn't told this. We were told this a few months ago by Richard Arnold in the pub, not this pubcast specifically, but he addressed the Manchester United fan base, really, and he pretty much said, be prepared for this. There is no money. After this big sort of spending on whoever we were going to do in the summer, it ended up being Casemiro and Antony. He said, be prepared. There will be no more signings after this. And we sort of glossed over that at the time because there was a few other talking points. We just sort of wanted to address the here and now. But we were very firmly warned of this.
Absolutely. He did mention that in it was in the earnings report, wasn't it?
Remember he was at the pub. Remember he's at the pub with those during the
before the transfer window. That was before the transfer window had closed, though.
Yeah, but exactly. He said after whatever we spend the money is there for this window. However, after this window, we're going to need investment because there will be no money, and we glossed over that because all we wanted was those signings in that summer. But he did give us warning in future windows. Deals like this would have to be the priority.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no,
that's a valid point. I guess the question now is, where do United go from here? Let's start on Gakpo. Obviously, this was a player that was admired by Ten Hag. There's no ifs or buts about that. Just about every single journalist had reported that United were in for the Dutch international. He had a good World Cup, not a phenomenal World Cup, but a good World Cup. He scores 3 goals. And then in the end, United, mixed reports, Tom. What essentially is coming out is they were interested, but they decided, is he going to be our center forward? And for those reasons, they've decided, all right, well, it's a tight financial ship at the moment. Is he going to deliver the goals? If he's not a guaranteed thing, then maybe we withhold the funds. So let me ask you the question then. Do you think this is the right call by the club? I want you to put the financials to the side for the moment. Gakpo, is he what United needed right now, or is he a nice to have?
Me personally, I look at João Felix and a Gakpo, and I side on the fence of Felix in regards to football. Okay, I think he's a better footballer. That's not to say Gakpo won't become a better footballer, but ultimately, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter what I care. Eric Ten Hag seemed to want him. Now, did Eric Ten Hag really want him? Who knows? Only he knows. Only him and Gakpo know. But on the information that we have, it sounds like Eric Ten Hag was hell bent on Cody Gakpo. Obviously, we had that evidence. Obviously in the summer as well, not just this January transfer window. So ultimately I can sit here and say, yeah, okay, I prefer a number 9. I prefer a proper striker. Is Cody Gakpo that? Probably not. So I can see the benefits in not bringing him in because I think, okay, he goes into Antony's position or Garnacho or Rashford or Jadon Sancho or these players. So I see the benefits in not bringing Cody Gakpo in. However, the main negative and the only negative that really counts is Eric Ten Hag wanted him. Eric Ten Hag might see a future at number 9. And I just think ultimately that is where the letdown is. So me personally, I'm not going to lose any sleep over Gakpo going to Liverpool. Because as I said, I'm happy with Marcus Rashford. I'm happy with Garnacho. I'm happy with Jadon Sancho. I'm happy with Antony. I'm happy with Martial if we get number 9 and Martial gets shifted out to the left sort of thing. So I'm happy in that area of the pitch. But ultimately Eric Ten Hag isn't. And that is what counts.
I think I'll go back to your original point, and it's the most valid point there is. Gakpo isn't a number 9. He hasn't proven himself as a number 9. And if I look at what this club needs right now, it's someone who can play up front and be almost a sure thing for goals. So you look at it like that and you have to say, yeah, he's got talent. He's got the potential to be a number 9 just based on his frame. But we've got no evidence to see that he's strong back to goal or that he links the play well or all these other fundamentals that you need to be a striker.
Our best football, though, our best football comes with Anthony Martial up front at the moment, and Eric Ten Hag seems to like the way he plays. But is Anthony Martial as a striker a sure thing for goals? I'm just thinking, yes, I agree. I want that number 9 who's going to go in and score goals, of course. But in regards to, is Eric Ten Hag thinking that way, or is he thinking along the lines of that fluidity across the front 3?
I think he wants a little bit of both. I suppose he wants the option. It's interesting that he's name dropped Rashford, particularly over the last week, and he's made the point, right, that Rashford, he expects him to score 20 goals in the Premier League. let alone what he can do in the season. So he's clearly looking at it to say, I don't care where in the front three you play, even if it's wide left or wide right, I still expect you to be able to chip in with goals. So I find that quite interesting. But so to your question, maybe he doesn't need the all-out goal scorer of a number 9, but you need the goals. And like if I look at Martial's performance yesterday, there was an opportunity where he turned the defender really well, and he did well to get himself in the chance, to create the chance. But he shoots it straight down the middle of the net. And the goalkeeper had all this space to his left-hand side. And I'm just thinking, if Martial can get that right, there's no reason why he can't score 20, 30 goals a season. So, I mean, it's a difficult one. On Gakpo, though, I agree with you. I think if you're going to choose between João Felix or Gakpo, it has to be Felix all day long. I think because he can play as a false 9 as well, and we've seen Martial occupy those deeper positions. So I think this is a good result for United, if I'm being honest. I think we might have dodged the bullet. Not to say he'll be a flop, but I don't think he'll be nothing for us to say, he's the next Mbappe who's going to be
João Felix on that, and I'm sure you're probably going to come into a little bit more of a discussion around the Felix situation in regards to a loan deal and how much that's going to cost and how much money United have and Arsenal's interest or Chelsea's interest sort of thing. But ultimately, I do agree. He may be a little bit more sort of fluid in terms of picking up maybe 1 or 2 more positions than Cody Gakpo. But ultimately, you do mention that I think all of us, when we think of João Felix through the middle, and not that we watch Atletico Madrid week in, week out, but when we see the type of play, we think, okay, if he's a striker, he's going to be that false 9. He's going to be someone who drops in. But isn't that counterintuitive in regards to, no, we say we want someone who to lead the line and score the goals? I'm just thinking with João Felix, look, I love the play. He's brilliant. I think he's criminally underrated. I think he's lovely to watch. I absolutely love the guy. Again, is he what we need? I'll welcome him with open arms, of course. Who doesn't want to welcome a brilliant player to the club? But ultimately, in the same vein of Cody Gakpo, is it what we need? I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just thinking this is definitely, in my opinion, not only Erik ten Hag knows, but it's definitely not part of the plan. Cody Gakpo was part of the plan. Whether it was a good plan or a bad plan, that was part of the plan. João Felix is a plan that's come about, Atletico Madrid want to get rid of him on a loan. Okay, we'll take that. Now, sometimes those deals are the right things to do. Sometimes if Kevin De Bruyne was not part of the plan, but he gets put up for transfer, well, suddenly he becomes part of the plan, of course. But with João Felix, just seems very convenient. Just a last minute, that's available, let's do that. Where I think to be successful, you need to stick and follow a concisive plan.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. I think with Felix, I could see him in the right system. I could see him scoring a heap of goals just because he gets himself in a good, intelligent positions. And from what I've seen of him with Atletico, he does seem to play off the left quite a lot. And I think I look at the way he plays. I hate to compare him to this player, but he's got a bit of Messi about him, João Felix. Just in terms of the way he plays, his style of play, I could see him occupying deeper positions centrally, and then I could see him scoring more goals because of that. Particularly in the Premier League where it's so physical, and I think he could just outsmart a few defenders, and he'll manage to bring players out of position, particularly against United will come against low blocks all the time. So I just think they'd really benefit from doing that.
Look, that's where I agree. I agree completely, but it just comes back to my point. Yeah, bring the player in. What a player! It's a welcome addition. He's going to improve Manchester United, but we just come back to what we need. And everything you described is brilliance, but it's nothing in terms of what we need. We need that number 9 we're talking about and sort of scoring goals. We're talking about him coming in.
Not that either.
Yeah, but does that mean Felix is?
I think for a loan option, it's worth the gamble. Yeah. I mean, we've got no one there at the moment. And if you look at the title of this video is about no more buys. So if we're looking at who can we loan, I think João Felix, given his ability, you've got nothing to lose. Let's not forget he's a big body too. I mean, he's quite slight, but deceptively big. Yeah. João Felix is past 6 foot. I think he's a big guy.
I think so, and obviously physically they look the same as well. But the obvious comparison, even a little bit in terms of the way they play Kaka, obviously it looks very similar. But in terms of Kaka, looks quite thin and quite slight. But actually, look at him; he's actually really big. And João Felix gives that impression that he's quite a slight player. But if you do actually look at it, he's actually quite physical. Well, not a physical player, but can handle himself.
Absolutely. On Gakpo, just to wrap up, I suppose, I don't want to be talking about Liverpool players on our platform, Tom, but tongue in cheek there. But if you're looking at Gakpo, what do you think? How do you think he'll play for Liverpool? Where does he fit in for Liverpool? Let me ask you that question.
they're probably having the same debate in terms of is he exactly the player they need? And Liverpool's transfer business has been so sort of precise and sort of productive in recent seasons, but ultimately now since Sadio Mane left and one or two other signings, you think, well, hang on, are they sort of letting the ball slip? One or two backroom staff have left the club in recent seasons, and you're seeing, hang on, are they doing the same business that they used to? And obviously, Cody Gakpo, fingers crossed, turns out to be a disastrous signing, but it could turn out to be a good signing. And where does he likely play? I think this is my hope, Larry, and people in the live chat can give their opinion as well. My hope is they're almost being put in a position where Manchester United have been put in the past in terms of, let's say, Harry Maguire at centre-back. Okay, it's not quite working, but you spent this money on him, you're going to have to play him because that's what the board sort of pushing on the manager. And I do look at Darwin Núñez through the middle, and I do not see a successful future for Liverpool with Darwin Núñez in the team. I just don't see it. Maybe he's going to turn it around and he's going to start scoring goals. I just don't see it. So that's where I think Darwin Núñez is going to occupy that spot in the middle through pressure on the board in terms of how much money they spent. Jurgen Klopp is going to be forced to play him. Again, this is hope. Maybe Jurgen Klopp goes against the board's wishes. And that, in my opinion, probably pushes Cody Gakpo out to the left. Now, Cody Gakpo, we're both sitting here, probably agree that he is better on the left. But I don't see a future for him through the middle while Darwin Núñez is there. And that's not to say Darwin Núñez will deserve to be playing. But I just think in terms of the money, they spent big money on Darwin Núñez. It's quite forgotten about in regards to we're going to be talking about Antony's worth 100 million. This Casemiro's worth. I've seen Casemiro's price tag up to 95 million the other day in terms of the way it was reported by the media. Darwin Núñez's price tag has been kept sort of quietly under the carpet. But yeah, I think Cody Gakpo on the left and Darwin Núñez through the middle.
Interesting. Yeah, look, I think Gakpo is a better footballer than. Now, I'm sorry, Núñez. I don't see it.
He's getting worse every time I see him.
And United were linked with him. That's the craziest thing. And the thing is, genuinely, and the thing is, if you want to go back through our archive, you'll never see us saying, "Oh, we got to get Núñez in." And that's something that I take with.
Remember when we were watching the YouTube videos? You know, when you watch a YouTube highlight video, when you link to a play, you think, okay, we're trying to convince ourselves that, okay, you can see a future, a big physical guy, strong foot. You know, there's comparisons with Haaland physically, and we can try to convince ourselves that he was good in terms of if he's going to arrive, we're going to have to love him. But even his YouTube compilation in regards to his goals, he even looked bad in that. And I'm telling you, that is something that's something hard to do. In your highlights to look bad, it takes some talent. So fingers crossed it continues that way for Núñez at Liverpool.
Oh dear, Núñez at Liverpool. Well, we'll see how Gakpo unfolds. Will he fulfill his potential or not? Time will tell. But Tom, let's bring it back to Manchester United now. If you look at our thumbnail, there is someone that is black and shadowed and unidentifiable. Do you know who that is behind the shadow, Tom?
I can't remember the thumbnail, so I haven't seen it. I am going to hazard a guess, Memphis Depay. Because, I don't know, you can tell me I'm wrong or you can throw up another name or maybe Memphis Depay isn't blacked out on the thing. But I have a feeling this Memphis Depay, Simon Stone, obviously who has his ear close to the ground at Old Trafford, has come out with a tweet saying Memphis Depay is definitely on the list in terms of he's a considered target by Manchester United. You look at the financials in regards to potentially bringing him on in a cheap deal in regards to a loan. That's obviously a possibility given the situation at Barcelona. I'm just thinking, I assume he's still at Barcelona. I should know that. He stayed at Barcelona in the window, didn't he?
Barcelona.
Yeah, I haven't seen Memphis Depay play this season. I saw him a little bit at the World Cup. But you could see that happening. Now, some people, obviously a good mate of ours, Rob, he's a big fan of Memphis Depay. I could see it working at Old Trafford. If Memphis Depay didn't have the history at Manchester United, not say good history or bad history, but if he didn't have that story at Manchester United before, and we'll just look at the player we saw at the World Cup or at Barcelona or Lyon, you'd say, yeah, bring him in. But something just holds me back with the story and just almost is destined to fail. So I'm mixed on Memphis Depay, I must say. Definitely not high on my list.
He hasn't played a lot of football this season. 12 matches, 5 goals, and that's all competitions. So, he hasn't played a lot of football. 677 minutes played. So, I mean, that tells you in terms of his favorite, his where he sits in terms of the hierarchy at Barcelona. But you know what? I actually think this would be a smart, astute deal for Manchester United to do. I think we need to delete his first stint at United. He started because I think history isn't kind to him, and I'm going to give you a few points as to why. If you actually look at when he came in, he was good. He scored a couple goals in the Champions League qualifier. I think it was against Club Brugge at the time, and he started well, particularly him and Luke Shaw. I think Shaw's injury really hurt him bad. I think Shaw gave him a lot of space, and they did build a relationship there. He obviously had attitude problems, which he's reflected on. And I also think when you're a 20-year-old kid full of confidence, you take the number 7 shirt, you think you're going to emulate Ronaldo. It didn't obviously happen for him. But you look at what he's gone on to do in his career. I think when you leave United, particularly the way he did, he came in under Jose. I think he played a total of 7 minutes under Jose Mourinho, Tom. 7 minutes. So Jose never really gave him a fair crack. If I were to compare what Memphis did at his first season at United, let's flip it back a little bit. Jadon Sancho, his first season at Manchester United. Sancho's been given the opportunity, though, under a new manager to be basically excelled in the right way from the squad, told to work on his mental capacity, his physical capacity. He's been given time to settle into Manchester United, coming from another country. And this is someone who is English. So Memphis Depay, who was younger at the time, got 1 season under Louis van Gaal, was put out of favor by his compatriot. Mourinho comes in, doesn't give him a sniff, and then he's off. So was Memphis given a fair whip of the crack? A fair crack of the whip? I think we need to almost delete that, because if you look at his career since, he had every excuse to drop off. He went to Lyon, he worked hard, he was a solid goal scorer, performed well, made a big move to Barcelona, has performed well for Barcelona, but obviously he's fallen down the pecking order since because they've signed, other players. If he came in on a 6-month loan deal, and mind you, he's got 6 months left on his deal at Barcelona, there is literally no risk for United here. There's no obligation to buy, none of that. You got him for 6 months, he can either take it or his career will go elsewhere. But I think he's a good age, and I think he'll take his opportunity if he's given one.
Look, I don't disagree with anything you've said there. And the position we're in and the position Barcelona, and it's no risk. Obviously, especially if the number 1 target isn't available, it's no risk. Go do the business. However, I come back to everything you say is right. And look, would I be willing to give Memphis a second chance? Maybe in the position I'm in now, yes, I would give him a second chance. I think as frustrating as he was at Old Trafford, I think he's someone that he did have a respect for the club. He did want to be there. He sort of did try his hard. While he did have attitude problems, he did have a connection to the club. It just didn't work for whatever reason. So I'll be willing to give Memphis a second chance. In plan A, and in an ideal world, probably not. I'll be looking at target A and sort of be looking beyond Memphis, but we're not in that position, so we have to deal with the cards that have been dealt. But ultimately, though, I come back to the same discussion we're having with Cody Gakpo and João Felix. We're given all these pros with Memphis Depay and the story. He can sort of resurrect his career. He can come in, he can offer this, he can offer that. Does he offer a number 9 who's going to go guarantee goals? I don't think he's that. I think he's almost in the same category as he's maybe a little bit suited to play a little bit deeper, a little bit wider. Obviously, since he's left United, he can play a little bit more direct through the middle. But I don't think he's that striker who's going to come in and replace, obviously, Ronaldo wasn't scoring goals, but replace that number 9 or replace Anthony Martial. I think he's a good player like João Felix or Cody Gakpo who'll come in and he'll score goals, of course. But we come back to what we truly need and what Erik ten Hag needs. And we're both sat here and agreed it's that number 9 who's going to be a for sure thing of goals. And I don't think Memphis is that.
But is he that if Martial goes down with an injury? This is ultimately my biggest concern. If Martial goes down, there is literally nothing to come in right now. And that's
the position we're in. The position we're in, and especially the loan situation, he's only got a few months left to his deal with Barcelona. Okay, yeah, you bring him in and there's no risk. I do see the benefits in it. But again, I think we're sitting here as a fan base, and I know you're not sort of celebrating it, but it's like we're just happy here. Okay, let's bring in Memphis for a couple of months. Let's see what happens. Manchester City aren't bringing in a lone player in for a few months saying, we'll see what this happens. We'll evaluate it in May. Okay, they're getting the business done. Liverpool's getting the business done. We're going, we'll see what happens. We'll cross the next hurdle in a few months.
Well, you know why United find themselves in this position? And this has nothing to do with his recent form either. The amount of money we threw on the Antony deal, suicidal. Honestly, it's actually horrible. It's horrible business. He might go on to be a world beater. He might go on to be a solid player for United, or it might not work out at all. But if you look at how much United paid for the player, and I know Ten Hag wanted him, and I understand all of that, every player has to have their price. And you can't pay 100 million for a player who came from the Dutch league and didn't have what I would call absolutely astounding numbers. It just his performances in the league.
What I'm worried about, look, you're right, but what I'm worried about, and I know you're not doing this, but this is falling on Antony. In terms of the reaction I'm seeing online from the fan base, this is falling on Antony. Of course, I know you're not saying that, but I'm just sort of drumming home the idea or the sort of fact this is on the Glazer. We called this at the time. Antony was the first target when Erik ten Hag came in. We all thought he was going to be the first signing. It ended up being sort of Lissandro Martinez, Ericsson, those type players. The first target when Ten Hag walked through the door was Anthony, and the rumoured price was 40, maybe 50 million. What Gakpo would have gone for. And ultimately they said, no, okay, this deal's in the bag, we'll sort of sit on it. And ultimately Ajax said, well, if you're not going to get the deal done now, we'll just up the price every couple of weeks. And ultimately that happened. So unfortunately, I made the point yesterday on Twitter before the game that I thought Anthony, off the back of the Gakpo news, I thought Anthony really needed a big game against, who did we play? Re-jog my memory, 24 hours. Not in Forest. Not in Forest. I said he definitely needed a big game against Forest, because what will happen if he doesn't have a big game? And I thought that chance, he needed to score that chance, because ultimately he doesn't score that chance, and we suddenly go,
that was a bad miss. He had to score that.
Gakpo would have scored that. It cost £100 million. He needs to do better. But ultimately he needed that goal. He needed that performance. Unfortunately, he didn't get it. To remind everyone, he was Erik Ten Hag's number one target. Erik Ten Hag went after Anthony before Gakpo. It wasn't Erik Ten Hag's fault it cost 100 million, or you know what I mean by 100 million. That's on the club. That's not on Anthony. I have a real fear. Again, I know you're not saying this, but I have a real fear that the fan base will start to turn on Anthony because of the deal with Gakpo, because we weren't able to get him, because no signings are going to come in, because they're only going to be loan deals. This is going to be lumped. Oh, it's because we spent 100 million on Anthony. And I just feel that's not fair. He really needs our support at the moment, because I think he had a good start to life at Old Trafford, but now after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of below par form, we're starting to point fingers. And I think that discussion you had about Memphis Depay in terms of a young player coming into the league, sort of affording a little bit of time to sort of get used to things. Anthony's in the same category, maybe even more so in regards to his situation. Yeah. So I do understand it. I know you're not having a go at Anthony, but just a reminder to the fan base, just hold your horses with him.
No, I agree completely. He's 22 years of age. He's come from the Dutch league. And before that, I mean, let's not forget, like, 2 years ago, this guy was playing in Brazil. Like, he's had a massive, prominent rise to Manchester United, and I do think the ability is there. The ability is absolutely there, but you can't underestimate. I mean, I think when fans watch football on TV, they underestimate how fast it is at a ground level. You just don't understand. Like, the thing that like, if you think of you and I playing for the Sydney United Supporters Club, and you just feel like we're puffing out of our ass. But if you're a spectator, you're thinking that's the slowest game of football you've ever watched. The reason the Premier League is so good to watch is because it's so fast. But if you're at ground pitch, it's a ridiculous pace. You don't have time to think. You got to make a decision of what you're going to do with that ball within an eighth of a second. There is no time.
I urge everyone, I'm sure everyone subscribed to the Manchester United YouTube channel. They do it after wins, especially games at Old Trafford. They have a sort of behind-the-scenes look. I urge everyone, I'm sure people do, but if you haven't, go look at some of the past games in terms of like a match day vlog. They have a camera on pitch level. And even just the two centre-backs passing the ball to each other, like a 20-metre pass across the back line. When we watch that on the TV, that's walking pace. We think, oh, okay, going through the motions. You watch that on ground level in regards to the way that ball moves. It's lightning quick. Like, it's unbelievable how quick they move in terms of the most basic movements and what looks like a slow thing on TV. On ground level, it's 100 mile an hour. And Anthony should do better on that chance. Of course he should. But, we just do need to be patient, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know what? On your point with Anthony and Gakpo, I think that all depends on how well Gakpo goes. If Gakpo starts bagging in goals, I think you're going to see the comparisons, absolutely. But I'm telling you, give this kid time. He's got lots and lots of ability. I think there's a very high ceiling for Anthony.
Anthony's for arrival Old Trafford, 3 goals in 3 games. Like, if Cody Gakpo does that, are we got to say, well,
put the performance together though, did he? Like, the performances weren't there. I think the goals were there, but that was kind of masking over the performance a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, there was obviously definitely a case of that.
Absolutely. But Tom, let's wrap up the video. You've got Memphis Depay, you've got João Felix. I'd love to throw having a mind blank. Ramos from but I don't think you get him on loan. I think if you're going to get that deal, that's probably for the summer as a striker. Like,
I was saying 45 minutes of him for Portugal. And that's not to say he was not great or brilliant, but I don't know.
For Benfica, I've seen bits and drabs of him. YouTube scouting, admittedly, but like he's a genuine number 9. Pardon me, he's a striker. He is a all-out. You play him in the middle of the pitch. He operates between the boxes. He likes to go left, like he can do that, but he's not what you'd call like a rapid player. He's not super quick. I think he's intelligent and he relies on his instinct in front of goal. So, I think that's absolutely that is an out and out prototype number 9. So if you're going to get him, that you're not looking for fluidity. You're looking for someone to just occupy between the boxes and score the goals. But I think that's a summer deal. I don't think you're not getting that one done in January. So give me a loan
David Ornstein, pretty much comes back to sort of the whole discussion and how we've titled the podcast. But it was sort of what prompted this was David Ornstein. Before I just watched the Leeds Man City match. He was pitch side with NBC, like one of the American broadcasters there, doing an interview on the pitch before the game, and came out and looked. David Ornstein is up there with in terms of probably look Fabrizio Romano. It's gone to a bit of a different business model. Yeah, it's hard. He obviously still got great connections and obviously close to the ground, but you look at in terms of reliable voices around Manchester United at the moment, you're looking at Simon Stone, Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, and then sort of Fabrizio Romano. So David Ornstein, when he speaks at the moment, you have to listen. He just came out pretty blankly and said, there are no signings coming in January. Manchester United will not make any signings. The only thing that will come through the door is potential loans if it makes financial sense. I'm just thinking, look, who knows what's going to happen? Someone becomes on the market. Look, Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't part of the plans. He wasn't on the market. 24 hours later, he walks through the door as a Man United player. These things can happen very quickly. But as things stand at the moment, for him to come out and pretty much confirm no one's coming in January except on a loan deal, Larry, it's concerning. Now, obviously, João Felix could come in on loan and score 30 goals. There might be a brilliant bit of business and might work out for the best, but it's just not part of the plan. And I think to be successful, Manchester City have had a plan, Liverpool have had a plan, Arsenal have had a plan. It's taken time with their plan, but they've had a plan. Manchester United, so we've seen how to plan for a couple of weeks. Suddenly, Ronaldo leaves through the door, and suddenly all this money should be available. How much money should we be spending on Ronaldo in the next couple of weeks on wages? Suddenly that's free.
On the Ronaldo point, not to cut you off, but that's money that would be. I imagine the players get paid, say, once a month. I know it's.
Oh yeah, I know money doesn't go into budgets like that, but just in terms of a layman's look at it, all this money's free now. Surely that can go to an extra 10 million to go towards a transfer fee. So I know it doesn't work like that, but it's just frustrating. It's frustrating because we are off the back of the football. The football, there should be so many things to be positive about. There is so many good things Eric Ten Hag and some of the players are doing, and that's where the discussion should be. The discussion should be around the excitement of a new arrival, sort of adding the cherry on top of the cake. But ultimately, it's not. We're having a discussion here again about the Glazers, who look like they are going to sell the club, and David Ornstein alludes to it being maybe sort of happening relatively soon, which is obviously positive news. We're not having a positive discussion. They've still got their claws sort of really deep into Manchester United, and we're going to pay the price.
Well, if you actually look at what he said in that David Ornstein, and not to venture too far off the topic of this video, but he did say that we didn't say he expected a transfer to be soon. I saw people reporting it as if he made some groundbreaking announcement, but he said a sale could be soon and that it would be seismic. I could tell you that when the sun goes down, it's going to be nighttime and you're going to see the moon in the sky when that happens. There was nothing groundbreaking in what he said. But Tom, to wrap up this video, give me one player. Is there someone between João Felix, Memphis Depay? Is there someone else that you think could be a loan option for United? Who would you be looking to bring in out of what's available and what could potentially be realistic?
Realistic at the moment are those two names, João Felix and Memphis Depay. Now, at the start of this podcast, I would have said, Memphis Depay. Look, I see the potential benefits in it, but not for me. After this chat and after hearing one or two points you do make them, again, I'm not jumping through hoops that he's potentially coming through the door at Old Trafford, but I would accept it. I think, okay, I could see it. I'll give him a second chance, and what a story that would be. Maybe the romanticist in regards to Manchester United would sort of maybe trump that, and I'd love to see him do well. So I do see... I'm not happy with Memphis Depay coming through, but I'd accept it. I'd welcome him. Overall, you'd have to say João Felix, but again, I love João Felix, one of the best players. I think he's a world-class player. I just don't think he's suited. I could see that also going wrong at Old Trafford as well, through no fault of his own, just through a multitude of reasons. So at the moment, I'll maybe tend to João Felix. I think he's a better player, and that's maybe a step in a different direction than Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay just feels like it's a step back. Now, it might be a step back for the right reasons. Time will tell, but if I'm having to pick one at the moment, it'll be João Felix.
He's got more goals than Ronaldo does this season.
A lot of players do. How many's Fred got? Fred's racking up the goals now.
How many goals does Fred have? Off the top of my head, 3.
He's popped up. Oh, I might be thinking some Ralph Rangnick goals. He had a bit of good form under Ralph Rangnick. Maybe
I'll never forget his banger with his right foot. I'm still. I reckon that was a bad first touch that ended up being a goal. I'm still convinced. Oh dear. But look, I'm gonna go Memphis Depay. I believe in you, Memphis. I believe in you, particularly because you have good taste in retro football kits. But what is coming?
My thing with Memphis. Sorry to interrupt you there. My thing with Memphis, and again, this reason I shouldn't not like him for this, but his socks. Look, I understand Luke Shaw's doing the phase now with the socks, but ultimately that's a fashion thing. I think if you go onto the pitch with the reason for those socks is a look. He wants to look in a certain way. He's not doing it for comfort because he never used to do it. So the comfortable way is just what your natural thing is, and he would have had it up around the knees like that.
Socks.
Yeah, but he's always had it. Memphis has been a considerable change. Okay, this is how I want to do it to show off my calf, sort of thing. And fair play, go for it. But I just think it's a change. I just think that is added weight into regards to his attitude and in regards to some of the issues he fell into at Old Trafford.
To show off your calves. I'm
old school. I wear them like a proper footballer. If you're Argentinian, go for it. Memphis Depay doesn't quite work for me.
Do you wear them below the knee or above the knee?
No, below the knee, of course. I'm not an idiot, but
well, traditionalists actually went above the knee at times.
Thierry Henry brought that phase in. A few wingers tried to do it, but no, just standard sock.
Doesn't it? Looks ridiculous.
Actually, to be fair, Scott McTominay I think does it now. So look, Scott McTominay's allowed.
Why Scott McTominay allowed?
Well, you've seen how long his legs are. He needs a little bit of cover.
He's also pretty fair-skinned, old Scott. It is quite cold in Manchester at the moment, so we'll give a pass. But there's the verdict. Tom says, Yao Felix. I say Memphis Depay. What do you think? Make sure you get your comments in. I will bring it to your questions and comments, and then we will wrap up the video. Hamza Patel, big up, lads. Big up, mate. I haven't seen you before, but cheers for tuning in. Chris, Shaw's broken leg hurt Memphis. Absolutely, mate. 100% agree. Chris again, Depay for 6 months is a good call for all parties. Pay his wages, see what happens. Exactly, mate. Chris is asking about when the pitch side view, Tom.
I can send him a link. I saw it on Twitter. It'll be easy enough to find, but Chris, I'll send you a link.
Look on the YouTube channel, Chris. They tend to upload there. We've got Abib Deliso. Welcome to United Felix. And Ferrer Lanendez is the better. Does that person play with Bettino? That was.
I think you might be referring to Enzo Fernandez. It seems Chelsea look like they're potentially 105 million. How accurate this is, who knows? But I did see a tweet earlier from one or two reliable things that Enzo Fernandez is definitely gaining momentum towards Chelsea. Whether that eventuates in a move to Chelsea, I'm not sure. But 105 million.
Why are United not in for these deals, man? Why? Where does he play again? Chelsea's midfield is stacked. Where does he play there?
No, you'd have to consider that an upgrade on a signing. Okay, it doesn't sort of on paper, so someone else falls out. And I think that is the way you have to do things now. In terms of you look at what been mentioned in Fred, there will be very interesting in regards to Fred in a couple of months. In regards to do you not bring in a midfielder because numbers wise we have numbers there, or do you say no, we'll bring in a number and suddenly Fred's not a number? You get rid of Fred or a McTominay sort of thing. So. It's interesting, but ultimately, if you want to be the best, you're going to have to go and buy players in positions you're strong, and suddenly just make yourself stronger.
Scott McTominay, that's something that we can definitely debate in the future. But what's coming up for you on the podcast? I'm preparing. Tom, you're going to love this. I'm preparing a video about Casemiro. I'm going to leave it there, but it's going to be must see. You're going to want to see it, so keep your eye out for that. It'll probably be out in the next day or two. And we've obviously got lots of football coming up your way. United versus Wolves, New Year's Eve. That's in 2 days' time. So the games are coming thick and fast. So the football won't stop. The previews, the reviews, the news, the stories. It's all coming here on the podcast. So make sure that you are subscribed if you are not. And hit that like button. Share the love with everybody. And we'll be on before the new year, Tom, to wish the listeners some love for 2023. But until then, I hope you have a good day. I hope all the listeners have a good day. And let's see who comes in January. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.